call her. So
Oh, video.
it's just up to her whether she wants to be on it. But I don't mind talking to it. Oh, here it comes.
Moving pictures probably be better.
So cool.
Face recognition.
Oh, it's all good. Oh, yeah, exactly, right? All the new stuff that they have.
Oh, no, I got to close the page so I don't look at myself here. Anyway, so we were talking about nothing's right or wrong right now if you try and think in terms of spirals, right?
Yeah.
And I think I sent you a link, and I think I saw it somewhere else on Dead TV too, about how slime works.
Yeah.
I heard it mentioned on a radio show I like to listen to here in Berkeley.
Okay, on KPF.
She was the visionary activist. You like her? I love her.
I can't. I should be listening.
A little astrology here and there, but she likes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should be listening to other people?
I should be listening to some of that stuff, but you know what? I just think we're in such my time for staying awake and following what other people are trying to lay down about what's going on and where it's headed, and a lot of times people are trying to prepare people to be mentally aware for some of these things, and it sneaks out there in these programs. Because there's not a lot of physical things that one person can do against like a giant tide. But I think my time of staying up all night and listening to these different authors and guests on these shows is over. That I'm supposed to be doing other stuff because I'm constantly learning anyways.
Yeah.
Like if I knew everybody's name that was fucking everybody over, that wouldn't change one bit. So I'd have to go into certain things. It's like. Or whatever, I'm more concerned with how a lot of this stuff's going to come to head really quick. I saw like Michael Franti being interviewed on Luke Godowski, so it was We Are Change, which is a right-wing thing, right? Versus it was We Are Change interviewing Michael Franti at Occupy New York, and I was just like. See, man, all these people are getting into this thing, trying to take over right now, and some of them are being real, sneaky about it, like saying they're in the press or whatever, getting their people in position, their media in position, so they see there's just a crowd of people, so you could set up your laptop and say, this is the stream, I have a better website, and it's more reliable, look at our cameras. And then you could have anything going in the chat room right now.
Exactly, and I think that's
it's going on.
I think that's the point. It's not necessarily a message that's been convoluted with so many voices, right?
Right.
I think it's more like, where is your fear right now? And if you believe in that whole thing of not we create our reality with our minds, no, I think spiritually, I think we actually do have a chance.
You know what?
The message.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm under the impression, this is what, if you want to say my spirit guide told me, that it's almost exactly the opposite of this people like that get really into God and they could say God's chosen me to do this thing, right? So I got to go out there and be a warrior on the front lines for God or whatever. It's almost exactly the opposite. It's not any one thing that anybody does at this point that moves it along, right? But meanwhile...
Yes, because it's already been done.
It's already rolling.
Already been done.
It's absolutely... Whatever happens, happened. You just nailed it.
Yep. So I think I saw Astro Daisy like talking about we're looking into the past or something. Well, I kind of get that. But I also don't get naming it and giving, like you say this a lot. I believe that too. That you can't judge it.
Yeah.
You can't say like, oh, that guy that was just on the chat. Like, why is he such a jerk? Like, get off. It's just like you can't judge it. It's another part of the insanity, isn't it?
It's absolutely, and people react. There's a lot of provocateurs, and they just troll through this stuff and try and discredit, stop people from talking about anything or talking together by just starting fights. So all of a sudden you're just doing this thing, and they can just do that all day long and just mess up a whole flow of people getting into the zone one person just talking about dogs fucking or whatever it is.
Yeah, but people don't realize it's funded by the government.
That's true.
You know, 1 million people that work I don't know how many thousands,
right. 10,000
thousands that work downtown in San Francisco.
Yeah.
To do it.
I know.
You know, and I've seen it happen, and I see evidence of it, and it's obvious to me when I read it. And I don't understand why people engage in it.
Well, check this out, though. You know
don't
what?
Feed the troll.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, the thing is like people like us, they're kind of threatened in a certain extent, unless we're always absolutely clear or under direct employment. They're kind of threatened on what kind of judgment calls we're going to make, because we know how to do things. See, and we can articulate. Like if somebody listens to us say something for a second, they're going to know automatically. They're going to have to come up with an excuse to try and shout us down, like the Tea Party or something. See, I'm not like
yeah, and yeah. Well, I mean, it's happened. It's the reason I'm a little shy about the on-camera thing, because it has happened to me where someone, you know, on an anonymous handle or something, right?
Yeah.
Somebody tracked me down.
Sure.
I mean, literally.
You know that you and I and some of our friends, we all have like these different skills and stuff, and you know that I can just figure out exactly who's doing what. It doesn't matter what they call themselves online. You know, like I can get right to where the signal cuts its filter, whether it's in the Grand Caymans, something, you know, the ISP or wherever it is. I know exactly where those things are coming from. It takes me like 1 second to get right up people's butt.
Oh yeah.
So I don't even.
That reminds me, in the beginning of your show, if you remember, there were so many.
Yeah.
And I used to follow that too. You know, I used to fight it and take pictures of those people, you know, doing the same thing back. Yeah. And then I realized, wow, that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And that, you know, psychic warfare is brutal.
Yeah, I think that the people that really spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff, you know, like, for instance, a culture like the Tibetans, they used to be a brutal culture, right? A long time before they turned in before the Dalai Lama's time, before they went as a people into this other thing. You know, they carved out their whole thing in an insane way. You know, they were all the way into like Afghanistan and all those places before they decided where they wanted to be and how they were going to do their thing. Well, anyway, they have a great saying, one of these old sayings, and it just says breathe in and breathe out. It's like you take it all in and you let it all out sometimes too. So you just go through this process of all this information and this like activity against you, anything, you know, you're just like, you just take it all in and then it all comes out.
Bring it on.
Well, you know, it's just like it's just weird. It's like a bamboo pole or something, you know, you push against it and then it just goes like right back at you at a certain point, I guess. But I'm curious what you think of all this stuff with, you know, it's getting multi-layered because what they did is they took the anarchist wing Adbusters. They took those guys, right, up, that's the Vancouver clique. They took those guys called Occupy Wall Street, and that's anti-consumerist anarchist collective, right? They're all hooked into the Canadian clique, right? So that those guys, then Anonymous chimed in, right? And said, yep, that we're doing this, right? So then, now the unions, right, are in on it, and the whole collection of everybody who would be anti-war, and they're being quiet, kind of about that whole thing, and they're not really pushing the diversity thing as much as maybe they are in their speeches and stuff, but not really like in the mainstream rank and file propaganda that's going out, like we're doing this, we're going to talk about this. They're not bringing up any of that stuff. I'd like to see more faces and more people to think it's more real. Always.
Well,
I see some color.
You know me, it was like, where are the people of color? Well, they're there. I want to bring up that interesting point. I read that article or saw that video of the media mogul, Fat Pants, with that guy. What's his name? I'm blanking out. makes millions of dollars. Rapper.
Glenn Beck?
Anyway, he said, no, somebody in the chat room.
Oh, Michael Moore.
No.
Okay.
He's who he is. The guy who his wife does fat clothes and.
A media
gosh,
mogul.
I think I said I'm having a big brain fart because there's a guy in the window over there waving at me now. I'm like, dude. So he's probably watching. Literally watching the channel movie.
That's okay.
Anyway, he said he was going to wait to see
Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons. That's right. I can have 100,000 people here in a minute, and basically a flash mob, right?
Yeah.
And playing with that whole thing.
That's like a threat, right?
Right. So he said, I'm going to wait. But he doesn't wait. He doesn't wait personally. He goes there and he meditates with people.
Okay.
Right. Make sure he gets the photo op in.
Right.
But it's like, Russell, what do you have to lose at this point? Really?
Well, Russell and those guys are hooked up with some pretty interesting stuff as far as masonry goes. All those guys in the business.
Yes, which I understand because he's waiting for the cue to go in. But at some point in your life,
I think they want to get everybody at once. Because if you look at this situation, it's like if a random group of protesters with many different concerns and messages, but basically boil down to like, okay, you greedy motherfuckers have everything, and now you're asking for more. You have everything. Is nothing left, not enough to give to you. So that's the basic message of the street, right? Supposedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mm-hmm. So here's the thing. So the street says we're going to camp out, and this is going to grow because we got nothing left to lose. And saying you're about change doesn't mean anything. So we want to see change, and we want to start with these demands or whatever, right? So the city's going to go, this won't work in LA, but it works in New York. They're going to go, well, the winter's coming, so that's going to clear like DC of all that stuff. And I don't see the like diehard protesters mm-hmm. appealing to people that have alpine experience and Nordic experience. Like, get your Nordic gear, get your practice for going to the North Pole or climbing Everest, come camp out in this park in the snow, or any of that stuff. But the next thing is that so the people are going to say, well, we're not going to move. So then they're going to say you have to move because of all these other reasons. Now, it could be like the fake anonymous threat saying that they're going to attack Wall Street proper and the websites. It could be this war that's going to kick off, and they're going to just say, we're at a state of war, new rules apply, and you have to go. But otherwise, without an excuse, right, what it means is that everybody's going to say, no, we're not leaving, right? Because there's no way that the core demands that most people have are nothing less than the destruction of the status quo. It's the end of end of everything is our demand. So realistically speaking, old man says to that, we'll see about how far this gets. Now, it always boils down to three different things, like I've been saying all night. It boils down to, like, this was their best plan, and it failed. I'm talking about the euro, the international stuff, the new money banking rules, the credit to everybody, the money for nothing economy for everybody, and all this BS, the, outsourcing your goods and trading what you do have. It's just all bullshit. So that all failed, right? So it boils down to three things. It was like their best plan. It either failed and there is no other plan, right? They've got another plan, but they can't tell anybody because when they tell them, then the in the rocking boat, the weight shifts because everybody tries to protect their ass and they get rid of shit and they drop their bank and there's a run on money and everything goes to hell. And then they come in with a new plan. Or what do you think?
I like what Terrence McKenna has to say about it. Maybe there is nobody in charge. Maybe. Wow. What if there wasn't?
See, I think that
five people.
I think there's a collection of plans, and in that documentary they were talking about the Group A and Group B within the intelligence community. And these one group saying, listen, you can't really get into that whole document because we made up all that information. We're Group B. Remember? We invented all those stories that you're trying to sell the president on. You're going to fight us right now, is what you're talking about, because we made it up and we just fed it to everybody. And they said, shut up. We're not listening to you. We'll find this guy who studied your plan and we'll say that he knows all about the plan because he doesn't know that you guys wrote it. He'll just name all the people in that file called the base, Al Qaeda. And that's what they did. But that's nothing. So anyways, what the problem becomes is the hubris. Hubris is that word where, like in Rome or whatever, where you're just like, you put on the crown, the golden crown, and you say I am infallible, and you believe all that bullshit, right? And it all just fails. Or it's like the National Socialists in Germany saying we're building this for 1,000 years, or whatever. It's like all those other grand plans, right? You always hear them. So there's an element of that, and what hubris does is when you believe in that stuff, people go down that road where it's just like, all of a sudden you're so fucked that you're afraid to quit it, and that's what bailing out Greece is all about. It's like we're putting so much money into this, we can't not throw more money away. And every criminal in the world is just lining up to take that money. They might as well loan Greece more money because the interest rate on all of it's so high that it's just automatically that another government has to bail it out. Except now they did that to everybody, so now it has to fail because the business is the failure. So now, with all this information that I'm saying, that there was a plan to do this. Because any other time in history, what happens when somebody owes you money like that and it's unfair? It's just like you kill the banker, erase the debt. So I don't see them killing themselves. How can they sell at the banks?
Well, isn't that the one rule? Once the plan is exposed, it can't be made, right?
Well,
you have to make, like you said,
once it's vocalized, right? Once things are see, like, it can't read your mind. So once you open your mouth, then it can act accordingly. So even when and also it studies body movement, sign language. So it kind of moves along. Like once you express your move, then it moves accordingly. So the weird thing about it is you just gotta, I'll put that into English because I know I lost you guys right there. But it's like in a fight when both sides are saying, no, I don't want to fight you. But they're both looking at exits and they're about ready to headbutt each other. But they're all like going, no, 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 backing up even maybe to get some more space to attack you. It's that classic situation with a lot of these things. But I noticed that the plan really changed last year, like December when everything was going down. Like a lot of shit has happened and is continuing to happen. A lot more of that stuff became very clear to me. Like, I was on the air and I was talking about the file and the WikiLeaks and all that shit going off, right? And being exposed and all that stuff and what was going on. And they didn't talk about it in the press until like 5 months later when they said, oh, we accidentally gave away the cipher to WikiLeaks, when I knew that it was out there in December, right? And it was already there, and that's when all those street revolutions started and all that shit. So I was amazed that nobody, not even the liberal press, not even the conspiracy guys, were talking about that. So that showed me right there that the way that they can control information until it only can get in the hands of a few people where you can just easily discredit them as being lunatics. Because I couldn't believe that the whole internet shut up about that and the problems that they were having with the U.S. government and the problems with China and the problems with the international hacking collectives, like the real deal stuff with the military shit and the problems with I couldn't believe none of that shit got out, and I was just like, and I wasn't prepared to like go on Ustream and just go, everybody, you don't even know, look what they're doing. Because I was like, that's so irresponsible at that time. Not like it couldn't do anything to anyone. Nobody had the background information to really understand. But to me, it looks like right now, what they accomplished in those maneuvers, that skirmish, China was eliminated from North Africa. They got all those people. That was crazy in Libya. And they put their foot down so hard that they moved, this hired army in there and everything. Just crazy shit. And against tides of refugees and going in every direction, all those people in Italy, and they just said, fuck it, we don't even care. We don't even know what's going on in that bay there that they call the Mediterranean. This is absolute madness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just getting really, really hot. Hotter than firecracker right now. Because that was the first time ever China had a full-on giant destroyer in the Mediterranean. I mean, to pick up 35,000 Chinese guys. And they called it a democratic revolution in Libya with a NATO no-fly zone. I mean, that stopped China from having any airplanes there. Because they basically flew a bunch of airplanes over the head, They had jets, every jet in Europe saying, well, you can't get to the Middle East right there. So I guess Israel, make your move, was what was being said. So we're just waiting on that because it's about to happen. But they keep changing different things, like some people really don't like this plan.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, I know. Well, now they're gonna say that a lot of this stuff and this information that's gonna come out next, they're gonna say that Iran and Russia or whoever, China, are putting the people in the internet up to it and playing the socialist leaning protesters. They're gonna say that.
Yeah, but they've done a masterful job of messing up the lexicon of politics anyway. I mean, people don't know what's up or down. You can't. What's a conservative now?
I'm a conservative.
What's a neocon now?
I don't adhere to that guy. Understand exactly what he was saying, right? I understand what that Leo Strauss guy was all about. I understand what these religious fanatics are all about. When they break it down to me, and as much as I've read about both sides of all these issues, so I can see everybody's points. But I really think that a wise person in the council of many is like the way to go. Like never really thinking like the person that's talking is hot shit if they're the president or something. But that all the people that are counseling them are really great at what they do. So the person that's talking is just the person that talks, and you get over that kind of like whatever it would be, your prejudice against it, because it wouldn't even matter. Like one week it could be a woman, and the next week it's like an old Mexican guy. It wouldn't even matter. It's just like somebody that you can stand listening to, and they're just telling you the way it is, maybe, and then that the people that are actually working out the big questions and stuff and trying their best are all trying their best, and they're pretty spectacular at their skills or something. I think that's like the next way to go. If I honestly believed that the powers that be were concerned with the humanity issue, then
I'm Chris.
You're like county, where you care about the people of the county, all of them, or something. And then you thought of it like your world or some shit, not to be all crazy, right? But if you just skipped it up, you're like, cool, we can produce that. Let's just replicate it, put it into production.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How hard is it to make pants,
It is. If you're one of the survival guys, man, you better really pay attention to that shit. To make a pair of pants that doesn't give you a bloody butt, it takes some skill, and it takes more than one person. You know what I mean? It's one thing to like grab some bark.
Speaking of,
go ahead.
I mean, I also wanted to, I think during that film, it was like, torture radicalizes people. It's obvious. And I just heard a story that they're trying to get some kids off of trees. Okay, this is Berkeley police, right?
Yeah.
And what they did, they're on the trees, right? So what they did was they tore their pants and sprayed hot pepper on it. That's nice. In their naked bottoms and balls, and it's just like, Whoa. Okay. That's fucking wicked. But the other day the opposing thing about that was like, I'm kind of enjoying the playfulness of the Occupy Wall Street. Like, but the best thing is that Occupy Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Because that's deep.
I know, but I put that out on Facebook because it occurred to me. I was like, Occupy Space.
Oh, you did it.
Yep. I was like, well,
Excellent.
while we're doing it, let's go for it. So I started making pictures, and I was like, Occupy Sesame Street.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I saw it on, people sharing it now.
Yeah, it's called a meme. I'm really good at it.
The other friends.
I'm really good at doing memes because I'm interconnected with a lot of people and a lot of people that know a lot of other people.
Yeah, and those people are very talented with, the message.
Then people just take it. They're just like,
whether or not you get it isn't the point. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you don't get it. It's still funny.
Yeah, it's really great.
In that horrific way.
Well, it is, because I was joking with the guys at Global Revolution today in the chat room. I just pop in there, and put ideas in people's heads sometimes. One of them was, I just said, hey, look, a revolution needs humor. Remember the Cultural Revolution? God, that was a fucking barrel of laughs, right? Because those people get so fucking into their roles, right? Do you really want to see people with dunce caps in a court that comes in the back of your truck? Because you're going to see that anyways. That's what's going to happen in America. That's what a military tribunal is set up to do. They just pull into a McDonald's, pull you and all your buddies in there. They're connected from your Facebook fucking page and sit your asses down, and they figure out, like, what's up. And then you guys, they deal with whatever you want to do. But that's the way they got it all set up, and the rules are set up that way.
Yeah, and it comes down to personal responsibilities at some point, because like you think about, maybe I'll go march or something, but like no. I don't have the cutoff point where I won't get violent right now. I'm that angry.
Yeah, you know what though?
I would step in.
But sweetheart, that's like, you know what the weird thing about it is? The kind of like, a lot of this stuff is like feels like, seems like. And then we gotta use the thinking part. There's just like so. It's like it's really weird. It's just like when I look at a big protest like that, and I look at it as like really legitimate in a way. Because you're an absolute fucking idiot if you don't think people are pissed off or people haven't been done wrong. You're just not. You don't know people. You just don't know. You're just lying to yourself. So there's a lot of people that have been done fucking wrong in a lot of different ways. And it's really difficult. That's where like a society like Germany or something, and the world dealing with Germany, that's where you can learn a lot about this kind of stuff. When you deal with like a big history of really big wrongs, like really fucking wrong shit. Like, how do you get over that shit?
I think that's why I wrote Go West, Young Man. I mean, they all know this stuff. This stuff was taught before Strauss,
Yeah.
Especially our country's, the United States, whatever, is responsible for before this Strauss guy madness.
Yeah.
I mean, what did we do to the Philippines, Well,
it was that shit.
It was the Great White Way. I mean, Caucasians. What does that mean? Well, think about it.
Yeah.
And I did see an interesting thing on the Occupy live feed. I was watching it, and some guy was like, hey man, let's just stop hearing from white guys.
Yeah.
It's getting boring.
Yeah.
Let's let people of color talk once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's pretty cool. I haven't, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's some social, because you can't have a revolution when you have other people thinking, well, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I do know how to explain it.
But I hate to tell you this. I hate to tell you this. Are you ready for this? You're going to trip out when I say this, but I'm going to tell you. Revolution is totally a white person's game.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Other people,
I'm saying the same exact thing.
Yeah, other cultures work this shit out. They fucking get together, or they fight, or they do whatever they got to do. But
and they they try it again and again also.
But white people create revolutions just to employ people. Just to keep people busy, to have fun. I mean, there's a million different reasons.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really fucking weird. It's always been weird.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, there's a lot of weird things that I can see coming up, because then you can also have a kangaroo court, people's court, with using the power of these people, and America, the new America, can get rid of all their debts. That simple. Just with the fucking angry mob. Killing the bankers or whatever, you know, I mean, literally. So this could go any which way, right? They could totally fucking use it and then just come in like just right on top of it, you know, with somebody just saying, okay, this madness has to stop now. Now you've gotten those guys, the guys that we didn't like anyways. That's what they did in the French Revolution. They got rid of all their.
The moment you open your mouth,
they got rid of all their debtors, all of them at once. They just fucking parked a guillotine and said, those guys, we owe them money. Put those guys in there too. I'm not kidding. And America cleaned their slate. All that money that France loaned them for the American Revolution, they just bye-bye.
And that's enlightenment, you know?
and then Napoleon, then the new French guys, when they put together their People's Republic, those guys said, hey, America, you owe us all this money. And they said, no, we don't. We owe the crown of France that money. And we owe all these guys named Doudou Michel that money. Those guys are all dead.
Well, you know that theory of that during not the revolution, the Civil War, you know, when France invaded Mexico.
Yeah.
Because they needed to go through Mexico.
Right.
And Mexico said, no fucking way. We got too much interest in the United States here. They own us. Why would we take over and take back the Louisiana Purchase? Duh. You know? Yeah. So a lot of people don't. There's so much Mexico hating. I can't get over it. But a lot of people don't understand the partnership, and that's the problem. They understand the hatred.
Sister, they're fucking terrified, man. It's because the keys to the kingdom. Even in Steve Jobs' Jobs' house, everybody, man, who's inside there, right? Who's got the lawns and the keys to the fucking security and every single thing everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're terrified of the Brown Revolution.
Terrified, and not to get all esoteric, but like, why would you want to uncover all the other pyramids there? You know?
Well, here
you can't.
Well, here, check this out. They're looking for the secret that's going to wow everybody. But you know what? Can I tell you a secret though? That's an open secret now. But I can tell you because I've read it.
Yes.
But you don't hear it in America. Are you ready? This is really hip. We are actually at war in Mexico right now, and they are actually having a civil war. And American soldiers are actually down there. A lot of them. And that is totally true. And they're calling it a drug war.
Well, yeah. It's called School of the Americas. They know how to murder.
I know. No, but listen, it's just like Vietnam down there right now. It's absolutely like Vietnam. They've got military advisors in all those divisions, boots on the ground. They're teaching them how to avoid the booby traps. They don't want any of that like Iraq stuff that the gangsters supposedly might have seen on TV with the IEDs and everything else, the big guns that they got. And there's a disagreement. They're trying to put the Attorney General and the head of the ATF on trial in America right now because they gave a bunch of guns to one side. They said it was going to be this covert activity that happened when they said, oh, the ATF were just like shipped, like 1 million AK-47s down there, but we were tracking them, to uncover, to bust this thing. Oops, they're all gone. But that's really true.
Yeah.
And you know how I found out about that stuff is because like in some of the German press, they're like, holy shit, because they're not saying nothing in America about that. And then I saw one little blurb there like, well, yes, we've been training some soldiers in Mexico. Crazy, huh?
Yeah. And that's like And yeah, and that's exactly why Cuba saw the writing on the wall. It's like capitalism. Here we go. Do you think they want these revolutionaries coming up to Cuba either? No. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And meanwhile, the United States is anti-human, about it. And people don't understand, and they're scaring people away from Alabama. Or I don't necessarily believe that to be that true. But,
yeah, they did. They passed a law and people moved.
Yeah. No, I know that's the truth. Whether or not the numbers are that large, because you got to figure it out. I mean, there's people that settle when they migrate, right? But there's also people that keep migrating to the next crop over.
Yeah, well,
as traditionally
Alabama. Here's the theory, right? Alabama's right next door to Florida. Florida supplies the 24-hour groceries for the East Coast. That's how they get their tomatoes and all that crap. They import just loads and loads of Mexicans in there, illegals. So if anybody who's not working in an actual slave plantation, right, we'll just say like 1 out of 100 guys is like a foreman of the tomato boxers, right? And he's making enough money that he can actually get a house in Alabama, the next state over, where they're not prejudiced against all those workers. So he sets up a house. He puts some money because you can get a house for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, right? Alabama, Mississippi. So he sets up a house and he tells his cousins, yeah, you can all live right here. That's cool. So that's what they were doing. And Alabama's just said, fuck this.
Yeah.
Nothing new for those guys going, their racism runs deep.
Oh, yeah, the other. And you need it just like that movie, right? You need the other. Mm-hmm. This duality of thought in this country is insane. Gosh.
I call it a disconnect. I would be impressed if it was a duality.
Like cognitive dissonance, right?
It's sociopath almost.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what I was saying. It all comes like, how can you possibly be that afraid? Really? What are you really afraid of?
You know what? If you weren't on Ustream and you were on our like dead.is, dead.iceland, that's the instead of .com we use the country code, right?
Yeah, I do use that one.
Okay, well, if you look right at the top of the page, it says fearlessness leads to immortality. So we're on the same page, right? Like we're writing this stuff. This stuff's like tattooed on my arm to remind me, lest I forget. It's just like, it's like we know what the keys that open up the door are. All of them. All 3 of them, little shiny things. The wisdom of Solomon. And all of it.
Yeah. I mean,
I know every fucking thing.
You want
I know
it so
every
bad? Take it.
I know every
What's the problem?
Yeah, I know every fucking thing those guys know except their names. See, they know my name and I don't know their name.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I don't believe it. There's a lot of things that feel like and seem like they're not fair, but now I'm not interested in fair.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because if I'm lucky, I could live to be like 80 years old. Maybe. I doubt it, right? Maybe. But I've already spent more than half of my life like trying to be fair.
Yeah. Like, that's the whole thing with this economic turndown. Like, people don't understand, like, I have been living thriftily. Mm-hmm. So I don't really feel the effects of the economic turndown. Well, I sort of do, but you know what I mean.
Well, I was trying to explain
I still don't have to hustle that bad, do I?
Well, but you know what? We're very, very smart people. Like, in a certain way that we've arranged our lives to what's important. And it's not revolving around some, like, credit application that's floating around to hop on a property ladder, maybe, again, or something.
I'm just here. I just really want to figure out how it all works. Not necessarily how it's all going to end. I don't think of it in terms of ending.
Right, yeah.
Which goes back to that spiral thinking.
I know.
But it also creates, and this might sound nutsy, right? But you'll probably understand this. It also creates other voices in my head.
Yeah.
Not like
I know
one
exactly
of those,
what you're talking
you
about.
know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Because like
Those
right now, I can't
elders.
even meditate. There's so much interference.
But check this out. Are you ready? Life is a meditation too, though. You got to remember that one thing. You know, like our whole life is a fucking meditation, because this could have gone any which way, man. We could have turned out like any other one of these stories. You could be in Fresno right now, right? Just fucking on a meth pipe nonstop. Yeah. I mean, there could be so many different. Just pick a story, right? Like if that was good enough for you or whatever, you just. But for whatever reason, we're not. So. The meditation thing, I understand. You know, it's important to remember to breathe and to drink something, all that, sleep if you can, all that kind of stuff. But I know I ended up in a fucking hospital. You know.
Yeah, I remember.
And everybody else like that's close to me, they were like sort of thinking, like the people that work with me, my team, my international team, were like. They think it's pretty remarkable that I would even just like step right back up, just pop right back into shape, you know, because it just doesn't go that way, really. Especially like with the meds and all that stuff that they tried to fucking destroy my brain with. That was just like really weird.
That was nasty.
Yeah, and I couldn't even get a lawyer to stop them from doing that. Or a team of lawyers. So that was really interesting. But not as interesting as the fact that it didn't have the result.
I mean,
it didn't have the result that they wanted. See, because it didn't affect me. So however my brain works, right? It's all over my brain. It's not just one part of it. So it's just like any other head injury I've had. It just sort of like compensates to another area, and I'm right back there. Pretty interesting stuff. But they kept giving me more and more of that shit because they couldn't figure out why it didn't work on me. But as it like slowed me down or whatever, I just was exactly the same. So what I told them was, well, you've misdiagnosed me. That's why it doesn't work. But I don't know. I don't care.
Well, there's that whole thing too. It's like, yeah, it's like there's a. You know, don't mess with me. You know, not a warning, just like, enough. You know.
Well, you know what?
No need to bring it on. I don't ask for that stuff. You know, you're asking for it. Not a revenge fantasy thing, but you're asking for it. What exactly do you want?
I know. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this, though? That almost sounds like a threat. So but I think when I listen to you say it, I think it's completely legitimate, and I just wish that some of these people that pay attention to what I'm saying, or what I do, or what moves I make, would listen to some of my wisdom, because it saves them time. At least consider it. And what I say is that when people start expressing these feelings and stuff, that a lot of that stuff is super legitimate. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just like, hey, this is the way people feel, right? But, you know.
Yes, you have to take some measure of protection. And secondly, you also have to accept the consequences of, you know, doing your thing. Whatever it shall be. In that moment in time when you decide, that's what you decide to do.
Well,
so
I'm really
like prepare.
I'm civic-minded. See, when I make all these kinds of things, like, that's where I disagree with some other people that have legitimate outrage. But I wouldn't even comment on their behavior. You know, I just look at it like all as a potential trap, I guess. But, like some of these hacker things, you know, I wanted to ask you a question. I was like trying to get you to call for a couple of days, or kind of hinting at it. But, what do you think about how that whole Jasmine revolution just melted. It looked to me like what they were trying to pull it stateside.
Yeah, it looked very possible.
I think a lot of people made their move and they got disconnected really quick. I think like a lot of people didn't make their move at the same time that they figured they counted would everything would fall into place.
Yeah, somebody held back. Well, more than one person, right?
Some people were yelling at me, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" But what do you think? I mean, how does zeitgeist play into this movement now? Like all the people that...
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
How does Zeitgeist, the movie, play into this movement now?
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. You know, are you experiencing... What are you experiencing when you're not only running into that fear of buying gold and silver? I mean, what a dupe. What a dupe. It's that same money scheme you were speaking about earlier. But are you talking about Zeitgeist, the movie, and how everything is connected to...
Yep, and the new religion and
maybe
the new
a central
government.
Family or two.
Well, no, what they said...
the
end result, the end game. See? What they're saying, like, be aware of this whole thing, because we're going to try and make this new thing happen. And then it builds into a spirit.
Yeah.
See?
And that's what people are talking about when they say, get on the spaceship. Well, did it? Where is it? Is it there?
I think it's behind the sun right now.
It gets so much Well, yeah.
It keeps, yep. They sent a couple probes up to be able to look at far out either side to be able to see, like, because evidently I was under the impression that things were getting zapped when it tried to go peek around the opposite side of that orbit. Not the dark side of the moon, but of the sun. The one opposite of us. Not like whether it's night in China.
Yep.
I was under the impression that that's what really freaked people out, is when they trying to get to the moon where they have to arc around that fucking thing for gravity or what have you. That's the big scary part. But
yeah.
So anyway,
well, no, I did a little freak out because I felt it. I thought, wow, this actually could happen. You know, San Francisco fall into the ocean. I mean,
well, they also,
we felt them before, and we felt them big. So
there was also talk last December about like the fake Messiah plan and this stuff.
Oh, but somebody spoke up, I think, and gave Washington D.C. an earthquake. Like, and what cracked, right? The obelisk. It's like now they're wondering, oh, can we ever reopen up the? You know what I'm talking about? That monument.
I know all about it.
You know all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who really? That's what maybe weirded me out more, was how big it was. And whatever kind of theory you're thinking about that, I don't think as soon as we know, then it's over.
Well,
I don't think we will know.
Well, that's one thing that I was kind of tripping on also last winter when everybody conveniently forgot what was going on at once. And they went back.
Yeah.
My best suggestion was to everybody to sort of try to return to 2008 mode at that point, because it looked like it was I thought it was going to be over. That's why I was in the bathroom. But the weird thing about that is
the temple.
Evidently, they did go back to 2008 and a lot of different things. And I think it solved a little bit of problem, but it puts you right back in the big problem. It was weird. It stopped the immediate end of something, our dramatic change moment.
Yeah.
And went right back to the big problem. that's
And
facing
that's where
everybody.
that's what I'm talking about, the potential for the masses to actually have enough strength and spiritual strength to actually do the shifting, to do that.
Well, the weird thing
Can you
about it,
bend spoons?
well, I'm on a different computer now than I was back then. And those people thought, the people, when Macintosh took a look at my other computer, my people took a look at it, they were like, oh, this is weird. This thing is fucking interesting. So then they gave me a new hard drive. And it went bye-bye. And then, but the weird thing is when it flipped back to 2008, the clock on it, on everybody's computer, that was really weird. When I just watched that thing flip. And then there was a lot of different things going on at the same time. I remember Yahoo, the Yahoo page had and all the websites had a box to drop information in for everybody, a secure drop for just like a day or two. I was losing my shit looking at it. I was just like, whoa, this is so weird. They're like, if you have any of these files, anything, just put it right here. And it was in the, up at the top left-hand corner of the page on all these files, because they were going, yes, we need the WikiLeaks type thing, but we don't need this going around all this other shit. We need anybody who has any of this information, just put it right there. And then it went away and nobody talked about it. So that was a plan for a couple days, And they told a lot of people a lot of things. America did. They said, specifically the information that I got was that if you know what we're talking about and you have the same passport, the one that I have, then you can take a look at all this shit. But nobody else even is allowed to see it. Even if they got the other passport, they're just not allowed to see it. And then they just considered, like, at that moment, they said it was 3.5 million people at once got a new security level clearance. That's what they figured out. And now I heard it's like 4.
Oh, yeah.
Now I heard it's like 5 million or something. It just grows every day. And they're trying to build a box inside of a box now. But my whole thing was like, because, I was saying like, okay, this is a security leak, right? And you're dealing with like hackers and stuff, and people are changing the pages of websites on a daily basis, and this is like for real weirdo war going on right now. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know if anybody gives you permission to do anything. What's real?
Yes.
You don't even know what you're
what
looking
are
at.
These?
You want to go back to the spaceship?
What? No.
Okay.
Who the kids that are doing this? What were they
Not
raised
kids.
on?
Not kids. There's
Literally.
lots of people. You got to think of the kids on both sides. What are the ideologues guys raised on? Define which kids are you talking about? The random faceless hackers?
Yeah.
Well, okay, first of all, the only way you could stop a group of random faceless hackers is just start taking shit down yourself and gain credibility in the IRC. See? You'd have to be like this spectacular hacker too, right? But the best way you could find out all that stuff is like a wolf in sheep's clothing, I guess, right? So you have to consider a lot of that shit. You have to look at the modus operandi too. They're taking out these corporates. People are vying. People with legitimate real power, but old power, like B of A or something, right? Playing the same game that everybody else, and all of a sudden they turn it on those guys. They go, this guy's a threat because they're not doing the same thing that we're doing. So they're the bad guys. And they took out AIG, that was going to have to pay off all those debts. They just like Lehman Brothers, people that bet on blame those guys. So all this other shit, right?
This is
right now, while I'm locked in this ward or whatever. And they read it and they're just like, holy shit. And they go, so what's your move right now? We're in a shooting war right now with another country. This is insane, right over our heads and all this shit. And they're like, we don't think about anything like that. Do you understand? They're just like total trust in their government, total trust in everything. They're like, we don't worry about anything like that. We're just doing our job. I'm in the military. Instead of carrying a gun, I just do this other thing. I'm like, whoa, This is pretty insane when they just said that America fired these missiles with Israel and they all missed because they were hacked by some virus. Then I read in the Economist or whatever, the UK interesting thinkers, like liberals, sort of intelligentsia type magazine with a little bit of a left-wing bent that they read. You know, smart people read in the UK. It's like serious shit, you know? It's like Time magazine times 20,000 or something. Like really intelligent shit. So anyways, those guys were saying that a group, and then I read in other sources here that a group of international hackers, it was countries and people that were completely different, just completely slipped a wrench in the cog and said, no, we got to do, this is the better way to deal with this. So that meant it was Russia and Germany and some people from the States and some people from England. I think it was England, you know, just said, you guys got to hold on, because it looked like they were going to press eject on Ebola and everything. And like that crazy shit was going on. Like it looked to me that like they'd compartmentalized the U.S. government. You know what I mean? And all these guys just went this one direction, and these other people like fucking said, no, we're in control of this shit or whatever. And everybody else is going, no, you're not. And they just did damage control. And then the whole thing with Pakistan and India and Iran, that direction of it, and China got really, really fucking out of control hot. And now it's India and Afghanistan versus Pakistan, and they're basically, I'm not going to give away the plan too much, but it's pretty obvious. They're going to jump
Pakistan and China.
Yep. Yeah. But they're going to jump right in there and take away Pakistan's.
Yeah. They're dancing. They were dancing together.
But because India was so pissed at that time that their Secret Service guy came on, and I showed some of that stuff, and he just said basically our options are A, make a good plan to where we could be good friends with Iran in the next 20 years after the dust settles, or B, we could attack Pakistan for no reason, but like we always do, because that's what we're being forced to do right now. That's why there's bombs going off in our country. And they just laid out the whole security thing without calling names. So, you know, and I was just like, fuck, I cannot believe how all these people are doing this. It's so stupid this way. You know, and I was like, oh, fucking PACCOM better fucking have a really good plan. This is the only guys I trust in this weird way. For some reason, man. You know? Because it's just a weird way. But you know, then they moved McChrystal to be the head of the CIA, which I wouldn't have made that call, but he's privy to all the knowledge. So when he was the head of the military there, he had to know all that info, right? So once he knew, they just said,
yeah. And so you.
See, I never got how Leon Panetta could be that way.
What you do is you distract the people. Oh, I'm sorry. About Panetta?
I never knew that he had all that stuff in him to be the head of that shop, unless they didn't even show him the goodies. They just let him be the head of the shop for a while. Because he never struck me as a person that could just contain that kind of info.
Yeah.
His demeanor.
That's part of his magic, right? Well, he was a soldier on the ground.
So it's one thing to shoot at people, and it's another thing to have the keys to that candy box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because evidently a lot of that info just turns your hair gray, changes the way you talk.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I don't understand why people are so frustrated with the head of state. You know, it's like, God, it's just a mouth running. Well, it's just a dream killed for people of color. That's all it was. Hello, you know, his wife seems like a good human being.
You can't pin it all on this guy.
Mm-mm.
But you just know, like, I point out real simple things, right? But that southern drawl that he adopts, kind of in an Afrocentric way, but, you know, there's a lot of people out there, they're hungry right now. They don't need fighting in Congress. He grew up in Indonesia, right? In Hawaii, nobody fucking talks like that in his whole life. Not in those fancy colleges he went to. They don't talk like that in NYU. They don't talk like that anywhere he's ever fucking lived. Period. That just shows you right there what kind of character he is. That it's acting.
Yeah. So why would you care so badly about that then? You know? What about his birth certificate and all that stuff? It just shows how stupid you are that you even care. That's what I think. I guess it's a judgment call. I didn't mean it's stupid, but you know what I mean. It's just ridiculous.
1 second. The people out there in TV land are like, tunes, whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
No.
Let's say goodbye to
I'm not done. There's a little bit more to this. Because okay. I personally needed this.
Me too.
See, a lot of my ideas and my understanding, it doesn't come into being unless I can articulate it. Does that make sense?
Yes, but sometimes you can't say it.
I can. Well, the things that I can't say are because, I said, I'm civic-minded. See? Because I'm not actually trying to instigate anything. See, I don't have to do anything. That's what I know. But I honestly believe that, a lot of these plans were, really so ill-founded, and it's a situation where they can't see another way out of it. But now back to the protesters and stuff. Their demands are nothing less than total war. So what do you think the end result of that's going to be? And there's an endless supply of people to join those protests at this point. Just more than there are prisons. So that's people power, man. You could do a lot of shit with that. And I don't see Michael Fronte fucking coming up with a good idea what to do with that energy. And he's a professional person of color. But he's at every one of those fucking protests, has been since I've been a man. I mean, that's his occupation.
Well, priorities changed for some, right?
Well, I'm just saying, you take the greatest socialist mind in America, whatever, on the protest circuit, and what, realistically, are they going to change with a mob? And the greatest thinking of the powers that be got us in this mess. So you have to call it what you see it. If it's a poisonous tarantula, a scorpion, or a snake, or whatever the fuck it is, right? You just call it as you see it. But a lot of this stuff, people just don't want to believe, and they're so far past 1984 level, like this book that they're waiting for it to happen that already happened. They don't give revolutionary books to fucking 12-year-olds in school and make them read them.
Yeah, without a purpose behind it. Right? It's not false propaganda.
You're just supposed to understand.
There's nothing false about it. It's telling you exactly how to react to situations like we're in today.
No, because the situation it's counterintuitive intelligence, right? You're supposed to walk away from that book not waiting for 1984 to be that effect. You're supposed just to understand how it is. That's how things are. You're not supposed to you're not waiting for that thing. It already happened. We already live in that world. It's just
and
we absolutely.
But who are you if you don't own a cell phone? You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing.
Let's own a cell phone.
But let's go back. You know what? You're a person of note. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
You're a person to look at if you don't, because you're. It's like Fahrenheit 451. That's how we're going to find other people, because you're not on the grid. But the one thing that I want to impress on everybody else, that when they think about this whole bit, you got to remember that, when the Russians beat the Germans and rolled into East Germany, how long do you think it took them to knock on everybody's door? Not very long. There ain't no place to hide. because they'll go everywhere and tell you how it is. So that's the illusion that people have in America, that they're going to go off someplace in the sticks and then they get the self-confidence. They're like, oh, well, I've got guns and I'm going to have a shootout. Well, people have thought about that. It's already been thought about. But you know, you're going to see this kind of energy, this stuff. What do you think they could possibly do? They could say, we're going to, even if they did something, even if the government said, okay, we're going to put all these people on trial, they can't do that. They can't. If you looked at like World War II, like what happened, they had the Nazis in this country, in Germany, they had the National Socialists, right? They lost the war. And what do you think happened to all those people? Every single teacher, everybody was in the party. Okay, and then Germany reunited with the DDR. All those Secret Service guys, all their communist ideologues, all those soldiers, everybody. What do you think they did? Do you think they put everybody in jail? No way. They hired as many of the spooks as they could possibly get on the payroll, and then everybody else, they just include them in the society. And it's right back to work. So, I mean, even if the craziest situation happened in the United States and the world, where all those protesters, the protesters got everything they wanted, right? Or some weird thing, right? What do you think? They really have people like Roseanne Barr and like Naomi Klein really say they're going to make did people really say they're going to make re-education camps for these people? Well, that sounds like a war between two sides, because the other side thinks the same thing about these people. So if both sides say they're not moving, right, then something's going to give. Because I can't imagine what would placate all these people. Because winter's not going to strike everywhere, right? And people have, so it looks to me like, like the government could use that as an opportunity to either like erase their debts, or there could be a war and they could just say, this is not an appropriate time for you people to be. We can't be watching for these bad guys that have sworn to blow us up, and also watch you guys protesting. And having you guys throwing Molotov cocktails or whatever stupid shit people do at protests, right? So there's that other option. Then there's the hacker thing, like the fake release saying, that Anonymous was going to attack Wall Street. Well, once they do that, it's economic warfare. Then everybody, the sympathizer, they got everybody they think is a sympathizer, I guess, is passing around their propaganda too much or something, more than just like going, well, look at this weird thing. Like what I do sometimes, I'm like, whoa, look at what these guys are saying they're going to do. We need to watch this, and I'll tell you why later.
Which is why they remind people of ATM cards lately, right?
Well, let me tell you.
Just remind you.
So what? But you know what?
What? So what? You have to pay $5?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's an ATM card. Hello.
I know, but they're going to do
Just zap it the moment you put it in the machine. No problem.
Yeah, but they're doing this other thing, though. Remember? Like in Ireland, they hacked those fucking ATM machines, and they all spit out 2,000 every time you press 20. The whole country at once. And they didn't even put that on the fucking news, because they don't want people to know that that's possible.
Yeah.
But that's an inside job.
Yeah. And the reverse is possible, which is also possible.
Yeah, well, if you convert everything to ones...
Right, the reverse.
Yeah, if you convert everything to ones and zeros, it all goes bye-bye at the same time, especially if you know where everything's hidden or whatever, And here's the problem. When you ask me who, like, some of these people are and who these things are, well, check this out. Some people are disgruntled employees. Total Doctor Strangelove style, where somebody just kicks it off and says, I'm tired of this shit, so I'm just going to fucking push it along a little bit. For whatever reason, right?
Yeah, like those guys
that start a
war.
Like
those guys that purposely lose $7 billion,
Mm-hmm.
They just, I made a bad trade.
No, well,
sure you did.
All those guys are doing it. Yeah, all those guys are doing it, though. I mean, that's their business. They go, this is a rogue trader. That guy's ahead of that desk where every single one of those guys is doing that. At the speed of lightning. Computer can't even follow the buy-sell thing. That's what makes the whole market wobble like that. When one of these guys fucks up or does it on purpose, is paid to do it or whatever, it's bet on the other team or whatever it could be, right?
It's like,
But
look,
you know, the Russians and a lot of these money interest people that have real money, see, like some of these Arabs, right? These oil countries, trade real oil for real money. So when they find out that the US dollar isn't worth anything, they want to get back at that. You know? It's like China and everybody. They're just like, what? You owe us like $1 trillion and you just gave us $1 trillion, but you just printed up that trillion. So we're not taking...
Well, this is why I get confused. Like, so why even try to get into the game of gold and silver when it can be outlawed, right? Like they did before World War II.
Yeah.
They do the same thing. I guess because maybe people just don't know their history. I don't know. But could it be that simple? Fear, you know.
Well.
Then what do you have to trade?
It depends who you're talking to. Because it depends what they want. I honestly think that, listen to me. I honestly think that Russia doesn't want to be the target of the whipping boy this time. That's all they want. They don't need nothing from anybody. It's my gut feeling, regardless of what you read on the news. So that's one thing. What China wants is something completely different. And what's scarier than that documentary is like, see, they only got to Arabs and Western versus Eastern culture as represented by the Arabs and what was going on with the Bushies as it manifested in the terrorists or whatever, right? What China wants is fundamental respect in this weird way, right? So we just do not see the evidence of that ever really occurring. It makes it a very difficult conversation to bridge. So when you talk superficially and you bargain superficially with these superficial truths, you get superficial results. Is my call on it. And whenever it gets really crazy, I just say, you know, I said something on this Ustream show, like a snap analysis of something, and I'll be damned if I didn't read it in the press like 2 days later. Because it was said in exactly the right way, and I'm sure it was heard. It's like, yep, that's exactly how you say that. It was like during a really hot moment. There's like really weird shit that goes on sometimes, you know? And it gets out there, you let that out there. Mm-hmm. But I even saw the codes in the pictures that they were using. You know, the pictures of the Chinese, like, spokesperson for the People's Congress. The code of, like, how many stars were lined up and shit under the angry face and all that shit. Total code right across the world paper. Like, you know, you only got a few more of these stars to go and it's over. But I think that the random element stopped that conflict for a little bit. I don't think, for some reason... I could go more into the spaceship thing and what happened to that. I think let's see what the chat room says.
Oh, yeah.
For 1 second. Because we don't even know if anybody even cares about the spaceship thing. They may not care.
Yeah.
We can talk about it another time, but I don't know when you'll have enough background information to deal with it. But I think they tried to shoot at it. I think they did. Yeah, I know they did. I think that's a real serious thing.
Yeah.
I think that was. I think it was expected that would happen.
Well, it was also curious who's left up on the space station now. Chinese and Russians. That's it.
Well. And
that rocket exploded around the same time. Yep. Like, oh. This rocket exploded. We can't get them food. Well, you remember that?
I remember all of it.
Happening at the same time.
Well, there was a lot of weird thing. There was a moment where they were when I was doing the communications, there was a moment where they were expecting the solar flare that came at that time for communications to go down anyways. See, it happens periodically that they can't communicate through that. See what I'm saying? Like a perfect situation, you could like fire a laser and that could be communication or whatever, but there's nothing you could do when that shit happens, right? So that's when everybody made
Well,
their that's when they made their mood and they put out the
that's what
move.
Stanley
Kubrick said, but they made their move when that
well, that's
happened.
when Stanley. Well, yeah, Kubrick.
But they made their move.
When did they make their move?
In December. But a couple weird things happened, you know, like there was a cover of a hologram cover to a magazine, and it just said, "Nobody can hear you scream in space," in the Iron Maiden. It was like really weird, you know? And I was like calling bullshit on it because it really pissed me off. Because I was like, there's no fucking way, I don't give a shit. But the thing behind the sun, see, they sent these 2 probes out to be able to look at both sides at once. Now it's like stereo probes, because they couldn't go around the side of the sun. They couldn't arc around it because it was getting zapped. Anything that tried to cross the arc to where you could see on what's hiding on the other side in a far out orbit just fucking zapped them. So they sent 2. So they said, well, maybe it moves, like if we just send 1, it's moving a little bit, you know, and then our thing gets zapped or whatever, right? But I'm not talking about the space platforms because there's more than one of them, but I think they've been fucked up. Some of that plan is messed up, maybe. The lifeboat thing, you know, the worst case scenario thing. I think a couple people really got into that game really quick and said, no, we're in this game too. So it kind of screwed things up a little bit, you know? But the big ship is what I'm talking about. It looks like I'll might as well show everybody what it looks like.
I haven't been able to find anything. You know what I mean?
I'll show you what it looks like.
Okay.
Let me find it.
I got my Googles. My Google's been tailored.
Yeah, all of them are. That's okay. Yeah. It looks kind of like this thing. So you can just watch the ustream channel now, and I'll play this tune.
Okay.
For the children. But it looks kind of like this thing.
All right.